Good evening, dear friends. I'm very glad to see you all here. And welcome. Here we start our second lection within the JetBrains Cyprus open events. And I'm really very glad to see you here. And the lecture of today will be dedicated to this amazing question: why does IT need user research? My name is Olga Vorobeva, and I am a qualitative researcher at JetBrains in the team of market research and analytics. And today we will have the lecture of about 1 hour. After that, we will have half an hour for questions, and also I will sometimes ask the questions to you. When it happens, I will ask my colleagues to come to you with the microphone and to answer one by one. So also I should tell you in advance that this talk will be recorded. So if there is anyone who is against that, please tell it now. And also it means that afterwards this lecture will be available as a recording. So this is a very typical dialogue I often have, like where do you work? Like in some IT company. A person may know or may not know what JetBrains is. That doesn't matter. What do you do there? They ask. And I say, I'm an anthropologist. What? They say, how it happened? What can an anthropologist do in an IT company? Maybe you even have psychologists there, or maybe even sociologists. Yeah, sure, I say. So, that is the question. Today we will speak about why at all we need social research in the IT industry in general, why we need particular user research, and I will describe you some real cases from our practice, like which issues, which problems our product teams bring to us and what we do with that. And yeah, as I promised, sometimes I will ask questions to you. Please don't hesitate to answer if you have any ideas. So, why is studying people important when we speak about IT? This is the first question I promised. Your ideas, please.
Oh, okay, so the thing is recording.
Yeah.
Okay. So why it's important to study people in IT? Yeah, that's the good question. So because if we building products in IT for people, we need to know what the guys who are building a product for. So we need to study them to build a better product, to fit their needs, problems, and everything.
Mm-hmm. To know the needs of the people we make the product for. Good idea, thank you. The sticker is for you. Yeah, sure, that's the point.
Yeah, I think there is another angle to it. You need to study people that you work with. You need to study working culture in order to build more effective one, and more productive one, and more safe environment. So yeah, basically you need to study the working space.
Right, that's true. Thank you very much for the suggestions. That is also true. That's not exactly about user research we are focusing on today, but it definitely is studying people in IT, and that is what we do as well. Okay, so actually you listed two main ideas I was thinking about when preparing this talk. Definitely they are not, it's not a final list. We can figure out like tons and tons more of them, but the main reasons are: first, technologies are used by people. So if we don't know who the people are who are using these technologies, how can we do what they really need? The second point, the creators, technologies are created by people. So if we don't know how the mind of the people who develop the products work, so how can we help them creating that. Come in, please. And also now there is a global trend of moving from a developer-oriented paradigm to a user-oriented one. So before it was more or less okay when a developer came to some brilliant idea and started to implement it just because they are experienced, they know the market, they more or less have some image of the people they do it for. But now the focus moves from the person who develops with their brilliant ideas to the people who use that. So that's why we really need user research, and that's why it is getting more and more complex in many technology companies. So today I will tell about our experience of our market research and analytics team, and about our cases, our workflow, and so on. But definitely many things which that I speak about are applicable to many different technological and not even technological companies. So I hope that this talk would be useful to you, regardless of the type of the company you work in. So sometimes our team at JetBrains is called reality relations. And this is also a very often question: when exactly should we do this user research? The right question is any moment, actually, because at any stage of product life cycle, you may need to you may find out something new and something valuable for your business, for your product, for your technology, and so on. So definitely one of the biggest parts of the research belongs to the period before the development, when we should focus on what exactly we would like to build. So first, it is a concept checking if the thing we came to is really necessary to some people. Then we should define the audience, who exactly these people are. Also, it is useful to check, is there any competitor products in the market? So you should make competitor research, like to find out if the people already use some similar products and what they think about that, what advantages and disadvantages they see. Are they ready to try anything new in this field? Also, it is useful for prioritizing the features which are absolutely necessary, which are nice to have but not necessary, which are maybe useless for our audience. And also we should check the demand for the product. Are they ready in general to buy such kind of products, or they just didn't think that you can spend money for such a thing. During the development, you also can check many things concerning your product, such as you can do different kinds of usability testing. You can test anything from the idea till the interface when it is ready. Also, you can start usability even before development. So actually, many types of the research are applicable to different stages. Also, the pricing research might be useful, because you need to know which price to put for your product. Is it reasonable? Are people ready to pay for this amount of money? Right after launch, it is very exciting period when it's just starting, when you have some early adopters, and it is very useful to collect the experience of these early adopters, because they tend to collect like the smallest bugs you haven't noticed before, or something else. So you need to evaluate your idea through these loyal and loyal people who like to embrace something new before you offer it to the people who are less loyal. And or also, if you haven't finished with your features, if you have some features in your pocket to add, so you also can prioritize them on this stage. And when you have a mature product, definitely you can, the user research may also contribute to it. For instance, you can check and evaluate the user experience. Is your product good enough? If it's not, what's actually wrong with it? What are its advantages and disadvantages? What features you may want to add, or the people want you to add and you never guessed. Sometimes it happens that we launch some product on the market, but we fail with the right audience. So we may need to redefine the target audience and to listen to their needs more carefully. Especially in the modern world, of technologies, compatibility is an extremely important point. So if you have an amazing product which is not compatible to normal environments, to normal ecosystems, this product will be hardly adopted. So it is very important to check this compatibility as well. So it means that you ask not about the product itself, but about how the user lives with this product. What does they do? What do they do? And is this experience of doing that, does it satisfy them? Sometimes we are also asked, who are you guys? Because often people don't know where to take such people from. Actually, by now there are very little places which prepare the people who do the user research particularly. So that's why the backgrounds of my colleagues are really very different. So sometimes there are some social sciences, such as sociology, psychology, social informatics, anthropology. Sometimes it is something connected with the technology and with data, such as data science or physics and mechanics or mathematics. Sometimes it is connected with management or social informatics. So the right answer is such people can come almost from any background actually here. The question, yeah.
Can you say a few words about the structure of the team?
Sure, it's the next slide.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry, the databases, what do you mean about
It is some specialization within the Faculty of Mathematics, as far as I know.
It's backenders who do that, like software engineers or...
It's about software engineers more, yeah. So definitely we are in different sub-teams who do different types of things. That's why, well, I'll explain it in the next slide. It would be easier. But let's start with the workflow. So how the process is when some product team has some idea or some product or some problem, usually it is a problem, and they come to us and ask something. So first we receive this business request. Then a very important skill of an applied user researcher is to turn the business request into the research question. That's not always obvious because to do that you need to know quite wide range of different methodology which will help you to solve specific problems. So it is like the most important, I think, step from the business to the research. So we communicate to this team, to the initiators of the research, and in this communication we define what we're going to do. Yeah, so we formulate hypotheses, we develop the methodology, so we pick the methods we are going to use, and sampling. We define the audience, so which people we are going to work with, how many of them we need, and where are we going to, how are we going to reach them. Then it's some ideal workflow. Not each research has all these stages, but in an ideal world, the next is the qualitative stage. There is one most important difference between qualitative and quantitative stage. Qualitative research answers the questions like what, how, in which way, and so on. And the quantitative stage answers the questions how many. And to answer the question how many, first we need to know how many what. That's why in the qualitative stage we do qualitative research, which means that we ask less people but more profoundly. For that we use different methodologies such as in-depth interviews, such as usability testing, such as diary study, or some other methods, or maybe a mix of them. And we start with developing this structure, this guide, this list of questions we are going to lead the people through. Then it is one of the most exhausting parts. We start to recruit the participants. There are some sources where we can contact the people, not just any people, but the people in the groups we need. And after that, when some of them agree to communicate to us, we invite them to our research activity, maybe to an interview, maybe to a diary study, whatever. Then there is the field stage, when we ask these people to come, and we spend 1 or more hour with each of them to discuss some particular problem. Yeah, we have a number of questions we ask them. After that, we have quite a long sheet of plain text, and we have to analyze it. It's also very important and very profound work, because you cannot just do that automatically, because otherwise you could just start with the quantitative stage because you know the variance. But when you don't know the variance, you should figure them out from your qualitative answers. But then you know how many of what you need. And you can pass to the quantitative stage, which means that you need a questionnaire. You develop the questionnaire, you read it through after finishing about a dozen of times, and check that everything is absolutely clear and it is impossible to understand your questions in the wrong way. And it's quite difficult, I would say. Then you distribute this survey and get the results. And it is usually much easier to analyze these results because they are already structured in some way. Yes, because you usually have the variance of answers, unlike the previous qualitative stage. And in the end, you have an amazing report which says about everything we found out, we had insights on during the research. So we discussed the results with our great people from the product team from the first step. And then, if they need that, we help them to make the decision. Because it is difficult to make this step from the business request to the research question, but it is also a big cognitive task to make this step from the results of the research to the product decisions. So if needed, we conduct the facilitated sessions when we help our decision makers, our team, to collect all this information and to decide what they are going to do with the product. And yeah, about the structure of the team. It might be a bit complicated, but I will try to explain how it works. So generally, we have two large parts of the team. One of them deals with qualitative research, which, as I said, answers the questions why, how, what for, and so on. And the quantitative research, which answers the questions how many. So in the middle, in the orange circles, there are the main sources of the data. So qualitative research takes the data from the interview, from experiment, which includes usability testing, for example, and from diary studies. And quantitative research takes the data from surveys or from some systems of automated data collection. And in both parts, we have three more specific teams. For each team, we can figure out some general question, which is like the reason to be for this research. For instance, for the qualitative research, there are three sub-teams around that. It is UX, user experience research, business and market insights, and cognitive research. Remember the psychologists I mentioned in the beginning. So UX team is more about what do users really need. Yeah, so all the activities of the sub-team aim to answer this question. Not really want, but really need, because sometimes people try to tell you about something they want, but if you dig deeper, you find out that actually that's not what they need, because they need something else, but they couldn't formalize that, or they couldn't do anything else with that. Business and market insights is more about the market than the product itself. So it is more about how should we position our tools. And cognitive research, one of the most intriguing, I would say, in our case, they conduct very big and deep and profound research about how the mind works when people use our tools specifically, or do programming generally. Yeah, they have also their own methodology how to do that. They more use experiments and some experimental methods rather than interviews as we do. But still, it really is very intriguing. As JetBrains develops the tools for developers, so in this situation we mostly study developers themselves and the process of development. But if you have some other tools which do something else, so it would be fruitful to find out how people think, how their mind work when they use your tools. And I personally am more engaged in UX research and business and market insights. So most of the examples of today will be about these kind of tasks, of questions, rather than about quantitative research. But also I will be able to say a couple of words about them as well. So the quantitative research also has three branches. In our case, it is data science team, survey teams, and data retrieval. Surveys, as it is more or less obvious, do surveys. Their main questions may be worded as how many users behave in this and that way. Yeah, what exactly depends on particular particular question, but generally the general super question for them is this. Then we have data science. They do some magical machine learning there, and their main question could be like, what is the best way to interpret our quantitative data? Because we have a great amount of them, and it is often very difficult actually to find out what is the correlations, what ideas, what insights can we get out of that. And data retrieval, this team is engaged in making dashboards, comparing different quantitative data with each other. So their main question is how we can navigate through this endless amount of data. Because when we speak about automated data collection, it really is endless. So to make any sense of that, we need our great colleagues from that team. And
I have a question.
yes.
Do I need to talk through that?
Wait for the microphone, please. And
Okay, all right. So mine is a practical question. So I'm a UX researcher. I work with XNEF. And the question was about the sequence of these in the workflow, right? So in the previous slide, you had mentioned about how you have the qualitative and then you do the quantitative for knowing how many of what, right? My question was, in your experience, have you switched it around in the sense like, have you done surveys to figure out what are the bigger behaviors and then do qualitative to dive deeper? Have you also worked in tandem where these two things work together? How has been that?
yeah, thank you for the question. Definitely, we do vice versa as well, because we have different types of requests. So definitely, sometimes you need to get some more narrow thing from some broader picture. And so we definitely can start with some broader thing and then go deeper into some particular part of that if we see it useful. Yeah, so definitely, as I mentioned, it is a kind of ideal workflow, but definitely it depends on the case. If the case requires quantitative stage first, we do that. Okay. And now we pass to our real cases part, and this is again the question. Here you see the case, and now I would like to listen to your ideas. How would you solve this problem? So to describe the situation briefly, there is some complex process, which is difficult, complicated with many stages, many aspects, and so on. Let's call it process M. There is a kind of a group of tools which help people with this process M. And only very skillful and very brave people use such tools, because they really are very complicated. Other people, when face this M problem, they do something manually, something not as high levels, not as high tech, but deal with that somehow. So we want to make some tool, let's say tool N, which would help not only these great superheroes who are able to deal with M tools, but also all other people who usually do something manually with this very complex and very difficult process. So how would we do the research to find out about the features, about the audiences, about the things, how to develop this tool?
So the research question
Good point. This is not the research question. This is the kind of business request we receive. So our first stage to turn the business request into the research question. That's what I ask you to do.
May I please add one more question? Okay, we don't got the research question yet, but what was the business request? Are they going to like to know what the tool they need to build, or are they want to know is there any demand for the tool? What is the business request for this case? Because I can guess they want to know. They want to like know how they can track people, but I'm just guessing. What was the initial request for this case?
Okay, actually, the request could be as general as here, but let's specify that a bit. They want to find out what exactly the tool should be able to do.
We need to do the research for the current users of tools and understand what do they like among these tools and take these features into the new tool. And we need to do the research for the users who do manual stuff and to understand what they dislike in tools and to avoid it in the new tool.
Very good. Good suggestion. Any other variants? You can try not to replace this answer, but to add something, for instance.
You could talk me.
One moment, please.
You could have interviews and talk to this new user group, the ones you want to target, and understand what is it about the way they do it now that is not similar to mTool, and see if you can close that gap a little bit. So, yeah, what is it that they like about how they do what they do, and what is it that they don't like, the pain points, and then kind of close that gap, hoping that now they might jump.
Okay, good. Thank you for the suggestions. They are mostly right. Yeah, because in this particular situation, we made it into 3 stages. First, we definitely had these 2 groups of people. First, the people who use these complex tools, and the second who don't use. So the users, the M users were the easiest part actually, because we already know what exactly we study. So we started with our normal research of the tool itself. Yeah, the advantages of it, the disadvantages, and the general workflow. Because we needed not only to know how they use the tools themselves, but how this tool is implemented into their normal workflow of dealing with this tool. So, we definitely needed to know other ways and other methods they deal with these problems, because almost none of them used only these tools. Yeah, and also there were many, not many, but okay, there were some people who were more or less professional users of such tools, but couldn't use them in their current job because of some other technical reasons, because such tools were just not applicable in this situation. So even them who knew how to use them had to avoid them and to do that in some other manual way. When we found that out, we had more context to ask the people who don't use these AM tools at all, because we knew what possible other ways are there. And on the second stage, we invited the people who face such kind of problems but cannot use these tools for some reasons. We asked them not about the tools, but about the processes. Yeah, please describe how was the last time you did that. Please describe it step by step. How do you discover the problem? How did you decide that it needs some dealing with that? Why don't you just leave it alone? How did you choose the method to deal with it? Have you ever had any situations when you couldn't manage with this problem? Usually people remember very well their fails, so the question about please remember when you did not succeed usually works. And also we definitely ask the question, why don't you use these specialized tools? You know they exist. Yes, we know they exist, and they explained us why they don't use them at all. And on the next stage, as I described before, yes, this consequence, first you do the qualitative research to find out what, how, when, why, and then you make the quantitative survey to find out how often does it happen. Yeah, how many people are there who frequently face such issues, how critical these issues are. Because if the issues are not critical, so you can just ignore them, so why having a special tool to deal with it? And about some practices, which methods do they use more? Definitely there were many more questions, but here I put the most important ones. So yeah, and this is how we solved this quite broad business request. So a second case, very typical, quite short. We need to find a name for our new amazing tool. Do you think a research team can help in this issue? Your variants, please.
You need to find out some keywords by which the users will search for your application. Yes.
Okay.
And if you understand these keywords, you can understand how to call your application.
Okay, thank you. Good suggestion.
Well, I would suggest to have a brainstorm session, and then I would, just pick up. I would just ask all of the people and all the future clients what they like most. What is the best? What is the most catchy and likable?
Okay, thank you very much. A good idea. One variant more.
Maybe to do some market research and to see whether there are any similar applications already on the market and try to avoid to sound exactly like them.
Great, great. Any other variants?
I think maybe you can choose some variants and ask people about how do you think what this tool do, what is need, what is it doing?
Okay. Actually, you almost you mentioned almost all the stages we did. In this process, we have a special naming process in the company, and it is simple from the workflow point of view, but it is very complex from the point of view of how many parts and people and teams are involved. So first, what we need to do is, that's why we need cognitive research sub-team. Yeah, so we conduct a facilitated session, a brainstorm with the developers team. And there we reveal what they think about both the product and the ideal, a perfect user of that product. So we ask them to brainstorm of what is the core value of your tool. Yeah, normally people know that, but they very rarely explicit that. Usually they just don't need it anywhere. But here, when you try to find the name, the right name, it's really important to do. Then some kind of theory of mind. Who is the person you do it for? Describe this ideal person who will use it. What are their characteristics? What are their features? Yeah, and also to think, we ask them to think about the tool. What associations do you want your tool to evoke in people's mind? So, having collected all these three bubbles of meaning, we ask them as a final question to brainstorm some naming options. And then we have some list of possible names. Then we definitely ask the users. We make this naming survey and ask the people who will potentially use that, which name they like more, what seems to you more suitable for this situation. And then there are two technical but absolutely unavoidable stages in this process. First, we need the linguistic analysis. We have an amazing team of linguists who check whatever we do for public. So they check this short list for potential negative associations or negatively sounding similar words, both in English and in most widespread languages, because it should sound good. Then we definitely check the grammatical correctnesses, euphony, and all that linguistic stuff, because the name should be normal, yeah. Not only for English speakers, but also for Spanish, Chinese, Polish, and so on. And the last but not least part, the legal expertise. You should look at your competitors, or even not competitors, and check if there are similar copyrights, trademarks, and other stuff which may provoke some legal issues based on that. Usually, after all these stages, you more or less come to one, not more than 3 variants. And after that, it is more or less easy to choose the right one, because after so many filters, you usually have the answer. Okay, let's get to the next request. Some team comes to us and says that we checked this automated data and found out that our technology, people start using that, but after some months, many of them stop using that. We don't know why. Please help us to solve this puzzle. So again, please, your ideas. What can we do?
We first of all have to check what kind of technology we're talking about, because it might be some technology that is usable for only a few months, and after that you just don't need that. And that's the first part that we have to check, because if it's not applicable for our users after a few months, then why would they use it anyway?
Sure.
Any choice.
Okay, good suggestion. Thank you. But let's imagine it's some technology we suppose people can use for ages, for many years.
I think, first of all, we have to go to people who declined, who stopped to use this technology, and ask why.
Okay, great idea. Thank you.
We could check out with the data science guys, and if it's a technology that's really broad, we could find which are the points where people drop off, right? So which are the places where a lot of users were lost, right? And then when we talk to those guys, the ones that he mentioned, we can ask them, hey, what happened here? You know, like we notice that a lot of people tend to like leave at this point. How was it for you? What was going on for you? Yeah. So it helps you kind of narrow down and target what questions to ask these guys.
Okay, amazing.
Requests for support.
Sorry?
So all the products usually have some kind of support. So it is possible to analyze the requests within the support.
Very
So
good.
anyway, you have already mentioned desk research is the basic case.
Sure. Okay. One more idea.
Maybe we could also investigate the market. Maybe there are new competitors who appeared during this time, and now users just went to use their product.
Very good. One more variant.
Actually, I would also recommend to ask people who didn't stop using this product. Probably we missed the target audience, and maybe our product is more applicable for something else.
So maybe you could run like a usability test and see where people have difficulty actually using the app or the program, and where they actually drop off from there. And then that could point you to maybe some features that might need fixing or updates in design.
Great. So actually, you named a lot of really very wit and very right suggestions, which are applicable to different kinds of products. Yeah, because even the product is really designed for a short usage period, so why using it longer? Also, a very good point to study the experience of churn users. We have one great problem with that. It is extremely difficult to have at least some churn users to communicate to them. So if we succeed to invite some of them, we are usually very happy because it really is very difficult. But if you can, it's amazing. It's extremely important information which you can get from them. Definitely, sometimes the machine learning of automated data may help when your product can write down this, record this automated data, so you can analyze it further this way. But in our case, it was some long-living technology with a very long period of learning, of adaptation, of adoption, and so on. And so, yeah, normally a person learns to use something in some days, maybe in some weeks, but not in months. And here we had this particular situation. So we couldn't do here just a usability test. But normally, yes, you can ask the person who hasn't tried that or has just started using that and ask about their difficulties. We did more or less this, but in a longer period. So how do we choose the methodology? If we can ask person to do something during 1 hour, it's better to conduct a usability testing. If it is longer than 1 hour, it's better to do another approach. It is diary study. It means that you invite the person to some initial conversation and explain them the goal. Yeah, so please, in this situation, we took the people who have never tried that but wanted to try. So we asked them, so you are not acquainted with this stuff yet, please start to get acquainted. Do it in your normal way, how you normally start to get acquainted with a new tool, with a new application, with a new technology. Use anything you normally use, like YouTube, documentation, Stack Overflow, whatever. We just ask you to do some additional thing. Please record everything you visit. And then please record anything you tried to do. Like Now I try to do with it this. First I failed because of this and this. I Googled, I looked to this article at Stack Overflow and tried another way, but I failed again, and so on. Yeah. After that, I will answer it a bit later. Then we invite them to the second interim call and say, great, you had the initial acquaintance with the technology. Now please do some particular task, which is typical and normal in dealing with these things. And again, please record how it's going. What difficulties do you face? Maybe what sources you find more useful? What sources are useless absolutely? What technological obstacles do you have during this period? And all the things you feel relevant. And after that, in the end, we invite this person to the final call when we discuss the general learning experience and ask what difficulties, what obstacles, and what, however, good features, good sources, good ideas they encountered during this experience. And basing on that, we collect a number of different kind of problems. First, the technical problems, because sometimes there may be some obstacles from the technological point of view, like it's important to install it in some particular situations, or the installation is too long and takes much time and so on. Then we find out the information lacks, because sometimes people stop using something complex when they do not have enough informational sources, when they can't find how to solve the problems they face. So they at some point decide to reject this technology because they don't have this support. And also we ask some diary-based questions, so definitely we see this diary while the person fills it in, and in the end we can ask about some specific parts, like you wrote here this and this, please give some more details, please clarify. And after that, normally we have a number of problems which we can prioritize, and some of them are very easy and very fast to repair. Yeah, some of them are much more complex and much more demanding to deal with. But at least we know we learn about them, because otherwise it's very difficult to know what obstacles beginners have, because the people who develop some tools, they usually are far from beginners, so that's why it's very difficult for them to put on the beginner's shoes. Okay, and I thought you had a question.
Yeah, I did. So I'm wondering.
Sorry, the microphone. Sorry.
So I'm wondering how you force people to keep up with diary, because I'm trying to do diary for myself, and I can do it for 2 days in a row, and that's it. And like you motivate them with some free subscription for products or what?
Yeah, actually, it's.
And the second question, like how many out of 100% who started the diary, how many you are getting at the end? At the third stage?
Great question, yeah. Definitely the motivation of the people participating in the research, especially in qualitative research, is one of the biggest issues for the research team. There are different ways of motivation which motivates different types of people, yeah, because people have different drivers what they do something for. Yeah, definitely when we do any kind of profitable business research, we absolutely offer people some rewards. So it may be the subscription pack to the products or some gift card or anything else. So they know in advance that coming to our session and like answering our questions, doing what we ask, they will receive some prize. The second very important motivation here is that we have a lot of quite loyal users, and they are just eager to help the company, and they feel motivated just because they help. Yeah, to contribute. Also, there are people who are usually early adopters who want to be heard. Like they had some particular problems and they want to be sure that the developers who made that listen to them. So it also may motivate people very much. And I do agree that when we speak not about the interview, which lasts 1 hour, but about the diary study, which lasts like some weeks with like 3 calls and so on, it's really very demanding. So definitely we offer like bigger price than usual. And second, it is the constant check. That's why we have 3 calls actually. Because we technically could do that, could do 2 of them in the beginning and at the end. But this interim call motivates people in the middle when the motivation falls down significantly. And sure, when 50% of the people who started come to the end, we are very happy. It's okay. We just know that half of them will not finish the research. That's normal.
So when you ask them to record it, in what format?
Sorry? Yeah.
It's really a simple question. When you ask them to record it in the diary, what format is it? Are they talking? Are they recording their screen? Are they writing it down?
Yeah, it depends on the type of the data we need to get. Normally, it is just a Google Doc. So they write down their like experience, their feelings, their insights, their whatever, and also they copy paste the links they use. But it's easy to imagine some other type of data you need when you ask people to record something with their voice, or to put there some pictures, or even to share some code with us. Whatever.
I was just wondering, like, you know, how many people would be honest in the sense, what if I forget, right? I forgot to record your thing and I want my incentive, so I'm just going to like fabricate something now.
Yeah, normally, again, it is not our first diary study. Specifically or study at all. Normally, if we see these prize hunters, they are recognizable from the very beginning. So usually if you have a scammer or a prize hunter or whoever else like that, you can find it out just in the first conversation. Because the only thing they ask about is about the prizes. They don't ask about like how to do that. Don't ask about am I the right person to do this and that because I have such and such background and so on and so forth. So it's usually quite easy to get that. So mostly there are another problem that usually we ask the developers to do something, and developers are not always very rich in their speech, you know. That's why we need this final interview. If the diary is very short and very laconic and we cannot take much of that, you always can deal with that in the final talk. If again there is no sense of that, so it happens, but not often. Yeah.
Do I need to
Yeah, sure. Sorry, one by one.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to ask whether you considered to automate the process of this diarying or whatever at any stage. For instance, I don't know, to develop some sort of a browser extension that will, I don't know, collect the data about the websites, like particular, not the whole website, I don't know, the whole internet, but particular types of website that you're interested in. Obviously, we all know this number of websites, so that this extension would automatically write down how a user would search for the answer. Anyway, stuff like this. Have you ever considered to make it easier for the user to participate in the research, basically to make some work for him? It's possible.
Yeah, we consider it, but the problem is that we have very different requests. So if in this case you need some stuff like that, in all other cases you may need something else. So we cannot develop new tools for each particular case in this situation.
Can't you kind of develop a tool that answers for a certain task, which can then, we can see the cases could be different, but then methods are all the same, and you just combine the different methods, and then probably you, in one case you use the different combination of tools that are available to you. In another case you will use another, but then the number of tools still exists.
Yeah, sure. Actually, now we are focusing on the tools for researchers, for us, for the team, more than on the tools for the participants of the research. But I hope that one moment we will pass to them as well, but not yet, unfortunately. There was one question more.
I just wanted to ask if you have this method used quite often.
Well, actually, we normally have one diary study per more or less each period of time.
What is period of time?
Well, when you take any moment, so any moment there is some diary study. But again, there are a team of us, so all other people deal with some other methods, and someone deals with diary. Yeah, I mean, it's quite normal, so people quite usually ask questions which might be answered with the diary.
How many people are there in the team?
If we speak about all this team, there are about 30 of us. Okay, if there are no more questions on diary, the next case. What can we do with that? If there is some successful competitor, and we want to know, what can we do? The variant.
Okay, I have two ideas. The first one, if we could, two naive ideas. So we could recruit users who are customers of our competitor and try to investigate how that current tool solves their problem, and is there any pains that isn't solved good enough. And another idea is maybe we could recruit the users who particularly do the same task with any tool and like research what their biggest gaps, and maybe we could like get some insights on WOW's features, because if we only look for our competitors' customers, we may be biased to the competitors' tools, and it could like we may get less ideas how to outcompete them. So.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other ideas or additions or anything?
I suggest to ask a current user of X to try this tool Y and gather the feedback, and that's it. He would complain immediately.
That's that's true. Yeah. Okay, good. So I would say our first speaker almost told us all the workflow, but here it is a case more or less similar to the first one. Yeah, when we try to find out which features to add to our future tool. But here we also have the audience, also have the real competitor, also have some real acting tool. So we started with data analysis. There was also a sub-question about possible other audiences. Yeah, because there is this competitor who has some core audience, but there might be also some other audiences for whom this tool suits not as good as for the core one. So we looked at both tools through the machine learning methods and data analysis to find out which audiences we should recruit to our further stages. Yeah, so to whom we should speak to. Then we conducted in-depth interviews, which were more or less similar to the interviews in the first case. Yeah, about the usage, how to use this tool, in which situations do you use it, what are its advantages and disadvantages, what irritates you, what is the wow features, and another important question: how do you adopt tools in the company? Yeah, because for some types of tools there might be different processes in different companies. It may depend on the size, on the ownership. Say for governmental companies it is different than for the private ones, and so on. So we ask the people about this, and then we check our qualitative data or with the quantitative survey. Yeah, we check how often people normally use these features, which features they like, don't need, don't need, and so on. And after that, we can come up with the ideas which features to add and which audience to retarget our tool to be more successful. Yeah. And let's proceed.
Yeah, sorry, I
yeah.
have a question here.
Okay.
How do you find these people who use this tool X?
Yeah. In some minutes, I will answer this question. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. More market question. That point from the previous question, how you make decisions about purchasing.
We should define some basic areas like a short list, like budget, easy to use, something like this, and ask our customers to grade them from 1 to 10. For example, also we can break down the customers into groups and see how they differ, that kind of stuff. And I also wanted to add to the previous case that sometimes a no wow effect can make the users of some good stuff move, because they're already used to, they're stuck to the previous product.
Yeah, that's true. The customer is very important here. Okay.
I want to clarify, I'm speaking of our current customers or non-customers here?
Here we more focus on our potential customers who haven't yet bought.
So I suppose it's quite hard to hire this, to find such guys, but if it's possible, I would maybe go to, maybe you can also recruit our own customers and the guys who make decisions, who do that purchasing process. And maybe ask them to describe how it happens. So how, tell me about the last piece of software you have purchased, and please tell us how it happened from the very beginning to the very end.
Okay. Some addition?
If you want to understand about our something about our potential customers, we can also ask our current customers who, for example, stopped paying for us. Like, for example, they tried our trial and after that they just said, goodbye, we don't want to buy your pricing plan or something like that. We can ask them, why didn't you decide to purchase our software? And based on their answers, we also can make some assumptions why our potential customers can buy our product or don't buy it.
Right, very good. So yeah, you again almost answered this question. So first we started with a desk research because when you have some large company which sells in different countries and different regions, there might be also some regional varieties in the decision-making process. Yeah, so people may approach this task differently. Then, yeah, sure, we need some in-depth interviews. So, yeah, normally, as you mentioned, we ask our current users because they are the easiest people to approach. And if we are lucky enough, we ask our potential users about how the decision-making process of purchasing software in their company is established, and ask a lot of context questions about that. And finally, it usually helps in such kind of situations. We prepare customer journey maps. I think many of you have heard about this approach. It is a map where we mark all the stages of some process and indicate there whether this stage is good, satisfying, pleasant or not. Yeah, and how can we influence, and can we influence at all to some particular point, and can we mitigate some pain points, for instance. And then we should decide what exactly can we do in this particular situation, what is under our control, what is not, and what we can improve. And I would answer this question about where we take all these amazing people. It's an enormous, the greatest masterpiece of our survey team. For 6 years already, there is a great survey which is called Developer Ecosystem Survey. Shortly we call it DevEco. So it is an enormous questionnaire for, if we collect all the questions all together, there are more than 500. But definitely each person doesn't get all 500. All of them get only the questions related to their own situation, yeah, to their own technologies, to their own tools, and so on. So this is our greatest source for recruiting the participants for our qualitative research, because we already know a lot about these people because they answered these questions. Like, let's say we need senior Java programmers from, I don't know, from USA, and we can do that through our system basing on this survey. Definitely, we contact only the people who agreed to be contacted, because when they fill in this survey, they also can put the tick if, like, I am agreed to be contacted if you need me for an interview or other qualitative research. So if the people do agree, we can send them an invitation and say, dear Sir, Madam, it seems that you are suitable for our research of this and that. Would you please be so kind to come to our interview? Please choose your time. And if they are ready, so they sign in for the appointment, and we have a meeting. If they don't, so they don't. But as there are I don't remember how many people this year, about 30,000. So normally there are enough people for us to speak to.
What does the graph show?
Sorry?
What does the graph show?
The graph shows how many developers of particular language did fill in this survey since 2017 till this year.
From your sample?
Yes, 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 right. So it's actually it's super interesting thing. So on JetBrains website you can find the reports from all the previous years, and the report from this year is currently in progress. We are finalizing it. So if you want to read about how people of particular programming language live or lived some years ago, so you can visit the website and read the report. It's really very intriguing reading, I would say.
And people are the same, it's a panel, yeah, am I right?
Sorry?
And it's a panel.
Yes, yes. So after that they form a panel. I mean the people who agreed to form a panel, because they could reject, like, don't contact me anymore, and that's okay. But if they agree, so after that they get to our internal panel, and after that we can choose the people according to our criteria.
But you just keep the panel for different research, or it's a kind of monitoring research you ask about the same stuff every time and just take some pieces?
Well, we can address to the panel of any year. So if we need, like, the people from last year, we can target on that. If it doesn't matter, so we just don't specify the sample.
No, I mean you just use the panel for different kinds of research.
Yes.
You don't have a kind of monitoring research, so questions that you ask year by year just to understand how they live, how their patterns change or something.
You mean in the developer ecosystem survey? Yes, definitely. There is the methodology is the same, and the questions from year to year, like the core questions are the same, and each year we add some new sections, some new questions, or some new varieties. So it is getting bigger, but generally it is like the same survey we had into 2017. That's why we can make some trends out of that and so on. So really very useful source. I'm happy we had that.
At which point you ask the question whether you want to pass this survey or not? You're using the application?
Yeah, we have some internal application where we can make the sample. So, like, I want people like this, this, and this, and then you have a list of people you can contact.
No, I wasn't. My question was.
Okay, so could you repeat, please?
When the potential customer sees the request to pass this survey, while he's using, like, IntelliJ IDEA, or when he goes to the website where he can.
Yeah, normally we send out the emails. So if their email is in the panel, so they just may receive a letter with the invitation. Like, if you want to participate in some survey, please follow the link and make an appointment.
Why don't you break it down, like, for less questions, and this can be sent to more people, maybe they would agree to answer?
It is actually for each particular person. It is less questions. I mean, the total number for all sections of the audience are about 500. It's not 500 for each person. Definitely not. It's impossible. No, no. We are not as cruel. Okay, so actually I have finished with the part, the ideas, the insights I wanted to share you today. If you are interested like in our brilliant team, so there is the QR code to the recruiting page. Please monitor the vacancies, the positions in marketing research team. Actually, we had the questions during the talk, but now we have just a couple of minutes to a couple of final questions, if you have some.
I have one last one.
Okay, 1 and 2. Okay.
Yeah. So in the very initial slides, you'd mentioned about when to do the research, right? When to do the research and how doing it in the initial stage is super important. Now, in my experience of working with IT companies and UX research, I've seen this very typical scenario where the company just creates a product, releases it, launches it, and then they think about, maybe I should talk to users.
Yeah.
So
let's research something.
Yeah, let's find out what's. So I'm facing this problem myself, right? And I was just wondering, do you have any kind of tips or ideas on how to convey the value of doing research before design to business, to stakeholders?
Actually, it's a very typical problem that you describe. So in our situation, we have a lot of different product teams. So our strategy here is to send ambassadors to the product teams who will smooth the process of initiating research and who will make hints for them, like, and here it would be great to find out this and that. So it is the most efficient way, I would say, in our practice. I'm sure there are many other ways, but in our case it works.
So does this ambassador actively interact with the product?
Yes. It depends on their agreement, actually. But for instance, the ambassador may attend the product meetings or something else, listen to what is going on in the team, and in the right time to make some suggestions this way. Thank you. And it was one question more.
I wanted to know, as JetBrains develop tools for guys all around the globe to conduct in-depth interviews. Do you have like researchers who can speak different languages, or you conduct interviews mainly maybe in English, or how you solve the problem of a different language?
Yeah, that really is a problem. We can conduct interviews in some European languages, but usually it is unfortunately mostly English. Because for English there are a lot of other tools, such as the automatic transcriber and other stuff which makes the research work faster. So that's why we unfortunately more or less stuck now with the English-speaking people around the world.
And is it the issue, or you can get all the like enough data and it's representative to like from English-speaking guys? Is it a problem or not?
Right now, it doesn't seem a big issue from the pragmatic point of view, but it is an issue for us from the ethical point of view. So I think in some time we will try to solve this problem, but right now we cannot overcome it on this stage. So thank you very much for your attention. Here is the survey. It is a feedback form. Please fill it in to help us to make our further JetBrains open talks better. And thank you very much for your attention, for your suggestions.